As dawn stretched soft golden light across the rooftops of Rome, the city awakened with a gentle hum, and children hurried through narrow streets toward their schools, clutching wax tablets, styluses, and bundles of scrolls tied neatly with string. Sandals slapped lightly against smooth stone roads as boys and girls wove past bakeries releasing warm, fragrant air, past shopkeepers arranging colorful jars of spices, and past fountains where early risers filled clay pitchers with fresh water from the aqueducts. The morning bustle of Rome wrapped around them like a lively embrace, reminding every child that a day of learning, discovery, and discipline awaited just beyond the next corner. Birds perched on terracotta roofs chirped as if cheering them onward, adding music to the city's awakening rhythm. Schoolrooms, often small and modest, echoed with quick footsteps and the soft murmurs of students settling onto wooden benches, preparing for lessons that stretched far into the afternoon. Teachers called Ludi Magister, men with calm eyes and a serious tone, greeted their students by tapping the edge of a wax tablet or clearing their throat, signaling the start of another day filled with letters, numbers, and stories. The scent of beeswax drifted through the air as children opened their tablets, smoothing the surface with their palms before carving careful lines with their styluses. Some whispered quietly to friends, comparing today's assignments or nervously rehearsing poems they had been asked to memorize. The room carried a quiet intensity, a sense that every lesson mattered, shaping not only knowledge but the future roles these children would play in the bustling republic. Learning to read and write formed the heart of Roman education. The teacher traced letters in the air with slow, deliberate movements, guiding students to carve each symbol neatly into warm wax. Children leaned forward, brows scrunched, tongues peeking from the corners of their mouths as they tried to shape each curve, line, and angle with precision. When a child made a mistake, the styluses flat and swooped across the wax, erasing the air like it never existed, offering a fresh start. Students practiced again and again until the letters danced confidently across the tablet, forming words, then sentences, then little stories bursting with imagination. The scratch-scratch of styluses created a steady rhythm, like tiny beetles marching in perfect formation across the surface of the wax. Mathematics followed closely behind, bringing a different kind of challenge. Teachers arranged smooth pebbles into neat rows, guiding students through simple sums before moving on to more complex calculations. Children nudged the pebbles carefully, watching the patterns change as numbers grew larger or smaller. Some counted softly under their breath, while others squeezed their eyes shut, trying to picture the answer before shifting the stones. The soft clink of pebbles and murmurs of concentration filled the room, blending into a quiet melody of logic and learning. Even children who found numbers frustrating pushed onward, their determination fueled by the belief that math was essential for merchants, builders, and leaders alike. As the sun climbed higher, the most exciting part of the day arrived: storytelling. Teachers unrolled scrolls that wrestled like ancient whispers, revealing tales of heroes, gods, and adventures stretching across mountains, seas, and distant realms. Children listened with wide, sparkling eyes as stories of Aeneas, Hercules, and Romulus flowed through the air like threads of magic, weaving imagination and history together. Some leaned forward eagerly, gripping the edge of their benches as battles erupted, storms crashed, and gods intervened with thunderous power. Others closed their eyes for a moment, trying to picture the scenes so vividly described. These stories shaped their understanding of courage, loyalty, honor, and perseverance, leaving echoes in their hearts long after the school day ended. Not all lessons took place indoors. On warm afternoons, teachers led their students outside, where sunlight painted golden patches across the ground, and the shade of olive trees offered a cool refuge. Children recited lines from memory, their voices rising confidently as they repeated verses of poetry or passages from ancient texts that carried the wisdom of generations. Sometimes the youngest stumbled, cheeks flushing red, but teachers encouraged them gently, helping them find their rhythm until their voices steadied like flowing water. Older students debated simple questions about justice, loyalty, or leadership, their hands waving through the air with youthful passion. Though their voices sometimes cracked or overlapped, these small debates laid the foundation for skills they would use as adults in courts, markets, and crowded assemblies. Breaks brought laughter, games, and a burst of energy. Children scattered into courtyards, tossing balls made of tightly wrapped cloth, chasing one another beneath fig trees, or skipping stones across shallow fountains. The serious tone of lessons melted away, replaced by the carefree joy of friendships and childhood. Some shared small snacks tucked into the folds of their tunic states olives or bits of bread, while others exchanged quick stories of what they hoped to do when they grew older, become poets, architects, generals, or senators, shaping the destiny of Rome. Their dreams mingled with the warm breeze, floating upward like sparks from a playful fire. Girls' education often followed a different path, taking place at home under the guidance of mothers or tutors who taught reading, writing, household management, and the skills of weaving and sewing. Yet even in these quieter spaces, learning thrived. Girls practiced letters on wax tablets, stitched patterns onto fabric with delicate precision, and memorized poems that filled their minds with beauty and meaning. They listened to stories of courageous women from Roman legend, drawing inspiration for their own futures. The soft rustle of fabric, the glow of lamplight, and the patient voices of their teachers made home lessons feel just as rich and meaningful as those held in bustling schoolrooms. As shadows lengthened and the sun dipped toward the horizon, the school day gradually came to an end. Teachers dismissed their students with nods of approval, while children stretched their tired legs and rubbed ink-stained fingers. Some lingered to ask questions, others hurried out the door eager to share new knowledge with their families, and a few walked slowly through the streets repeating lines of poetry or tracing imaginary letters in the air to ensure they remembered everything learned that day. The city seemed to welcome them back with open arms. Vendors called out the evening's offerings, bakers pulled warm loaves from ovens, and neighbors shared greetings in the golden glow of the setting sun. By the time the children returned home, Rome's streets hummed softly with the sounds of twilight, distant chatter, gentle laughter, the trickling of water from fountains, and the rhythmic clopping of hooves as nighttime patrols began their rounds. Families gathered around clay lamps, sharing meals and stories, while children proudly displayed their wax tablets or recited the poems and lessons they had practiced all day. Parents listened with smiles, offering encouragement and gentle advice as the flickering lamplight danced across the walls. And so, each school day in Rome became a thread woven into the vast tapestry of the Republic's future. Through wax tablets and scrolls, pebbles and poetry, discipline and imagination, children grew into citizens ready to shape the world around them. Their footsteps, laughter, and determination echoed through the streets like a living promise, a reminder that the strength of Rome rested not only on its roads, armies, and monuments, but on the eager minds of the young scholars who dreamed beneath its ancient rooftops. The sun had barely peeked over the rooftops when the school day began, casting warm golden light across Rome's bustling streets, where children hurried past bakeries, markets, and temples on their way to lessons that promised both challenge and discovery. The air filled with the rich smell of fresh bread and the distant chatter of merchants setting up their stalls. But the students stayed focused on the scrolls tucked under their arms, knowing their teachers expected them sharp and ready. Some walked quickly with excitement, eager to learn something new, while others dragged their feet, whispering hopes that the teacher might be in a good mood today. Inside the modest one-room schoolhouse, wooden benches lined the walls, wax tablets rested on tables, and sunlight spilled through small windows, painting bright squares across the floor. Children filed in, their sandals tapping softly, their voices dropping to respectful whispers as the teacher, usually a stern but knowledgeable Ludi Magister, watched them with wise, calculating eyes. Lessons began with reading and recitation, the students chanting lines from ancient stories, poems, and speeches, their young voices rising and falling in rhythm like waves brushing the shore. Parents nearby paused to listen with pride, knowing each word spoken was a step toward wisdom. As the morning progressed, writing lessons began. The children gripped small wooden styluses, carving letters carefully into wax tablets with slow, deliberate movements. Mistakes were inevitable, but the students learned to smooth the wax with their fingertips and try again, practicing patience and persistence with each stroke. The room filled with the quiet scrape of styluses and the soft murmurs of concentration, while the teacher walked between benches, offering guidance, correction, and praise. Sometimes he paused to demonstrate a perfect loop of a letter or the graceful flourish of a word, and the children leaned forward eagerly, trying to mimic his skill. After writing came arithmetic, a subject that demanded sharp minds and steady hands. Students counted pebbles, arranged them into neat rows, and solved problems carved into tablets by the teacher earlier that morning. Some children beamed as they quickly solved each puzzle, while others frowned with determination, tapping pebbles together as they worked through challenges step by step. The teacher encouraged each effort, reminding them that numbers were as essential to Roman life as courage, loyalty, and discipline. Outside the schoolhouse, passing adults sometimes slowed their steps to listen, smiling at the thought that future merchants, bankers, and senators were practicing their first calculations. At midday, the children spilled outside for lunch, racing into a courtyard buzzing with life. They unwrapped small bundles containing bread, olives, figs, or cheese, savoring each bite as they chatted excitedly about lessons, games, and dreams for the future. Some swapped treats, others shared jokes, and a few wandered toward the shade of olive trees, resting quietly as they watched clouds drift lazily above the rooftops. A gentle breeze stirred the leaves, carrying the scent of warm earth and distant cooking fires, reminding every student that even in the heart of learning, Rome's rich, vibrant world thrived all around them. Once lunch ended, lessons returned with renewed energy. The teacher introduced new stories from Greece, Egypt, and faraway lands, describing heroes who battled monsters, philosophers who pondered life's greatest questions, and explorers who ventured into unknown territories. Children listened with wide eyes, captivated by tales of bravery, wisdom, and discovery. Some imagined themselves on distant adventures, sailing across endless oceans or climbing towering mountains, while others felt inspired to study harder, hoping to become writers, historians, or leaders whose names might one day echo across the city. Debates and discussions filled the classroom as students practiced the art of persuasive speaking. They stood before their peers, delivering short speeches about fairness, courage, and the responsibilities of being a Roman citizen. Their voices shook at first, but with each attempt, confidence blossomed. The teacher listened intently, nodding with approval as the children learned to express ideas clearly and boldly. Outside, the murmur of the forum drifted faintly on the breeze, as if encouraging them to grow into future orators who might one day stand proudly among senators. Later in the afternoon, lessons turned toward discipline and manners, where students learned the importance of respect, honesty, and self-control. Stories of Roman heroes were shared figures who placed duty above comfort, who guarded Rome's principles even in the face of danger. The children absorbed these lessons like seeds planted in fertile soil, understanding that education was not only about knowledge, but about shaping character. As the teacher spoke, some students straightened their backs, imagining themselves in shining armor or elegant togas, representing Rome with pride and dignity. Before the school day ended, laughter returned as the children practiced music, rhythm, or small theatrical scenes. They clapped, sang, and recited short lines from plays, their voices blending in cheerful harmony. These moments of creativity let them breathe after hours of discipline, reminding them that learning could be joyful, playful, and full of imagination. Outside the window, birds perched on tiled rooftops listened curiously, chirping along as if offering their own approval. As lessons drew to a close, the children packed their scrolls and tablets, their minds buzzing with everything learned throughout the day. They stepped into the fading sunlight, their shadows stretching long across the street as they hurried home. Some shared excited retellings of the day's stories, while others repeated lines of speeches or practiced multiplication with pebbles in their hands. Parents greeted them warmly, asking about lessons, teachers, and dreams for the future. As twilight settled across Rome, the city glowed softly, lanterns flickering in windows while children reviewed their notes and prepared for the next day's challenges. The murmur of the Tiber River drifted through the streets, mixing with the distant laughter of families gathering for evening meals. Rome felt alive with hope, curiosity, and the promise carried by every young mind eager to learn. And so, Roman school days continued full of hard work, discovery, and imagination. Each lesson shaped students into thinkers, leaders, dreamers, and citizens ready to weave their own stories into the vast tapestry of Rome's ever-growing history. Through scrolls, styluses, speeches, and songs, the next generation prepared to guide the empire with wisdom, passion, and the bright, unwavering spirit of learning.